being here. I'm glad to see so many of you in this room from both sides of the party aisle. Our markets are here to support small business, creating new jobs, farm investments in states like mine in Iowa, and local governments growing pension funds and providing cash for home ownership. Challengingly, under Chairman Gensler's leadership, the Commission hastily and arbitrarily has led to a rulemaking process that undermines the agency's critical mission, making decisions at the expense of small businesses and family farms back home. Chairman Gensler, during your first 30 months in office, there was a 110% increase in proposed rules compared to the previous two chairs over the same period of time. Many of those rules are both complex, I think is easy to say. Some of them have been inconsistent, and arguably they've been expansive in scope, and they diverge from the SEC's historical approach to many issues that we've come to depend on. These costs are adding up. $6 billion, an additional $6 million in compliance hours for many of my small businesses and farms. This shouldn't be too surprising when just one rule is 886 pages long. This is a tremendous impact on my constituents back in Iowa. The courts agree with my decision too, because Chairman Gensler, they've taken you to court where you've lost, and then you've lost again, and you've lost again, and again, and again. The courts are piling up in this that you have overreached, and yet you've refused to take advice from me, from Iowans, and we'll hear today from your commissioners. I believe the SEC needs to start choosing Main Street over administrative rule by fiat. So Commissioner Uday, since Chairman Gensler has not answered the request that I have in the letter that we sent to him on June the 13th, signed by many of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, I'd like to start with you. You've worked at the SEC in various roles for a long time. You know the agency well. You're concerned that the recent wave of legal challenges against the SEC's rulemaking agenda is a threat to its reputation as a well-regarded independent regulator. Would you concur with that statement now?
Yes, I would.
From that, does the overregulation coming from the SEC put not only its reputational brand damage at risk, but cause a harm to the people impacted by it, whether it be a small business, a farm, or others?
Yeah, there are very significant effects, and I worry because of the rapid pace of rulemaking, we haven't fully been able to consider all of those effects, especially where they're negative on small businesses.
And I'll note that you're a Republican commissioner, so I'll turn to a Democratic commissioner. You know, Commissioner Lisgard, around 1% of all venture capital goes to rural startups. Is that correct?
I haven't checked the latest figures, but if that's your understanding, then I'll agree with it for purposes of the discussion.
I appreciate that, and I think that that is actually information I've received from the SEC. Could you point to something briefly during your time that makes it easier for a rural small business to raise capital? Just one of the things maybe that you've done.
I have tried to encourage the small business office to expand its outreach to underserved communities throughout the country, including rural.
I appreciate that, but that's not more than just saying we'd like you to be able to do more, even though we're only giving you less than 1%. Commissioner Peirce, Commissioner Uday, do you have any thoughts on ways that we could reach out to rural communities who need this as well?
Well, I think certainly we could, you know, when I travel, I try to talk to as many people as possible, so that's one thing that we can do. But I think on the rulemaking front, it's exactly what Commissioner Ueda said, which is we need to give people time to think through these rulemakings. You pointed out we've got these very long rules, and a lot of them, and so we need to give people time to think through and give us comments.
I would concur. Commissioner Peirce, I want to speak to you on your public statements. You've urged digital asset firms, whether they be issuers, broker-dealers, trading platforms, to come in and register. Is it currently feasible for an issuer, a broker-dealer, or a trading platform to come in and register with the SEC today?
I mean, realistically, it's not, and I think the evidence is in the fact that we've seen so few firms be able to do it.
I don't want to leave you without the opportunity to respond, Chairman Gensler. And while we've had the opportunity to write you, and I know your team works hard on these things, the fact of the matter is we are Congress, and we do provide guidance for you. I think, in my opinion, you've taken it very far beyond what Congress has provided you information on. In June of this year, we raised concerns and got a surprisingly lackluster response. I'll put that on your staff and your team to hopefully get us back a more formidable answer. I'm concerned that my friends across the aisle, as well as my constituents, your fellow commissioners, all of us are concerned. Most importantly, Iowans are concerned.
Gentleman's